There's so much reaction to President Trump's announcement that the U.S. is taking over Gaza. And not only are Arabs concerned, but there are many Jews who are concerned as well that the U.S., who is an outside entity, is now going to own Gaza. Is that good for the Jewish people? That's a very big question. Let's watch his comments, which he shared in this press conference post his meeting with the Prime Minister. And then I will share some of my thoughts that are very important to consider before you have an opinion about this.
I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
Yeah, here what you see is here are a few things that are very important to consider here. Number one is nothing actually happened. So everyone needs to calm down. And it's very important. And then you have to know this in the context of President Trump, because President Trump does something brilliant that very few people have been able to pull off. And he does it on a scale which is far greater than anyone else. And that is that he makes massive shifts in societal thinking very, very quickly. He moves the Overton window, the range, so that suddenly things that no one would even consider, everyone is considering. What does he do? He tells Mexico and Canada, we're raising tariffs by 25%. There's a major reaction for 24 hours, and suddenly the prime ministers of each country suddenly are on the phone with President Trump. They work out exactly what he really wants, which isn't the 25% tariffs, and suddenly they are accommodating that. That is brilliance, which he has demonstrated to do very well, and his diplomacy in this manner has been very successful. And so, watching how he operates, you have to assume, okay, it's not a guarantee, but we would assume that he's doing the exact same thing over here. He's taking things to an extreme, and they're going to level out somewhere in the middle. So is the U.S. going to own the Gaza Strip? I don't know. I'm not sure that the president himself knows. He probably hasn't figured that out himself. He said, we're going to state that, take it all the way to this side, and then we'll see where we end up. And I'm fine, we do it. I don't think he's hooked on owning it. And if you hear all of his comments about it, he's talking about the people living in Gaza, that they are living in unacceptable conditions. And the world accepting that for them is unacceptable. That's essentially what he's saying. And he's saying whether it's Jordan and Egypt, or it's some other place, some other country that wants to be the benefactor, or multiple countries that will take percentages of the Palestinians, thus give them a better life. Who's going to take over Gaza? We'll find out. And really, we would hope, and I would hope, that Prime Minister Netanyahu is no pushover, that will have to be negotiated as to exactly what the arrangement is. And I would suppose and surely hope and pray that it's not owned by the U.S. How does the U.S. even get there, and why do they need to own it? But that they have some form of partnership or authority in certain elements of it, maybe at the most. We're going to find out. But one thing we do know is if you look at the history of how President Trump operates, then we can see very clearly that there's nothing to be concerned of now at all, because this is all part of his brilliant diplomacy, which he does perform so very well.